Oh, wait a second. Wait, let me just, yeah. This episode of Mariko's Test Drives from Forge Studios is unofficially brought to you by no one. But I do like to sport the lipstick every once in a while, so a shout out to MAC and their Russian Red. A shout out to my Toronto friend and amazing artist Hannah Lynn, who lives and works in the Kensington Market area. So, she will keep me refreshed. A shout out because people have seen maybe me do a little dance video with this last night to Copacabana. My friend Laura Vanderlyn, who is not only a potter and ceramic artist in Vancouver, but she's also a seamstress. It seems that she's a seamstress. And if you go to her, Laura Vanderlyn Pottery, and I'll tag her in the captions at the end, you too can have a beautiful apron, and it's got like a split thing. Just check out the dance from yesterday, the dance moves. So today I'm going to talk about coil building pottery, but just a little bit. I was going to say that I'm going to make this whole thing today, and it'll take about 3 weeks, and you can just crash here and just turn the video on and off while I'm working nonstop, because that's what I'm going to be doing for the next few months. And but no, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I love about coil build pottery and how I get it going, because I need to get going on this show work, because deadlines, right? I'm probably going to do this with my glasses, because there's probably a trick to getting rid of the Terminator eyes, but right now I'm finding it a little bit distracting. So anyways, I made this piece, and it took a long time. Everything in my world takes a long time, for a show a number of years ago. And to be honest, it's got Xi Jinping's mirror image of, and they're playing ping pong. And I think it is called That Deaf Dumb Blind Kid Sure Plays a Mean Pinball. Get it? But, you know, making political work, I love making political work. It's, what do the kids say? Tough sell. So this has been kicking around the studio for a number of years, really, now, I think, which I'm happy. I have a number of them in back that keep me company, to be honest. But I actually am going to remove the pins, the pin heads, and by just lightly dremeling them off, and I'm actually going to replace them with some more Lucky Cat decals, and I'm going to get rid of the text and redo that. But that's another episode. That's like when we get to advanced decaling. I'm going to have to toggle back and forth between those words. But this is coil built. It's as heavy as all get out. I think there was a story, was it about Peter Volkos? Like, he had some kind of industrial scale, and when it came to grading students, they would just pile everything on the scale, and he would give them a grade based on how much clay they moved. I would have been a good student. Again, I like to say that I'm not a good thrower. I like to throw small things because for some reason, I just sort of shit the bed when I try to throw big things. And a friend once was like, why don't you just get somebody else to throw it for you? It's not that that's cheating. It's not that that's cheating, Jeff Koons. It's not that it's cheating. It's just I like having control as a Scorpio over everything, and so I choose to coil build things. And really, another instructor said once, if you're not using it every day, like if you're not drinking out of it, or that's why I buy Hannah Lynn's work, or actually she gifted me this mug. I owe her something. Tea time. If you're not using it every day and it's sitting there, who cares how much it weighs, right? When I throw, I know there are people out there who just like pride themselves on like, I got no trimmings, I don't do that, I have like a year's worth of clay to recycle. Again, I say in back around the corner here, and that keeps me moving and grooving. So this show, which is so secret, it's not so secret, it's going to take place on the east side of what we say in French, les États-Unis, which is the United States, in the Nueva York area. I'm still actually hammering out the details, but I am going to get started on a few fancy vase forms because that's what I like and that's what I'm interested in. And then there'll be probably some other sculptural elements in there. But again, we're still hammering out the details, so stay tuned. And there's nothing to subscribe to, but you can just give me 5 stars on nothing too. You can just follow along. Anyway, coil building is wonderful. You all know I suffer from depression, supplies, and cooking along with anything slow and meditative and repetitive really helps my fucking brain stay the course. Coil building is something that's really slow and repetitive and really makes me stay the course. I find the one thing that's sort of awkward about doing this sort of thing is that I can't listen to the music or Dave Chang's new podcast, well, the Dave Chang Show, but his new episode is called Gambling, Gambling, and More Gambling with Cousin Sal. So I started it, so I want to finish up so I can get back to it because I have a thing about like needing background noise. Again, we can talk about podcasts and this and that later. But I wanted to just kind of start off by moving this out of the way and getting the camera refocused. And again, I know that you all have this down. I know that you know how to do this, and so I'm just going to try and get as much of the table in there as possible. And you don't have to see my big fat head anymore, but you can hear my big fat voice all you want. And I move Mr. Laptop out of the way. And this is what we call clay in the clay world. I love Tucker's Pottery, and I order some things from them, and I order some things from other people. I like to spread my financial love as much as possible. But this body, I realized I had some aging boxes of clay to use, and so this body is, I think it's called Mid-Porce 5. I'm thinking P-O-R-C stands for pork in French, or it stands for porcelain, but I think it's porcelain and not pork, and it's got a little bit of grog to it, and I think 5 means that it goes to cone 5 because that's what I'm firing my chickens to, or hens to, or whatever it is. And so I like things with a little bit of tooth. Kirk Mangus, when we were at Kent State, he used to throw like a hot damn with all the shittiest clay bodies you could possibly imagine. And as much as we bitched and moaned about this, what was the fire clay, Kabir? Where are you? Why aren't you in my ear? I need one of those earbuds so you can feed me the lines. But it started with it, Fredericksburg fire clay. That's what he would just like get somebody like whip up a whole batch of that nasty shit. It was like throwing with oatmeal, but he made the most beautiful things. In fact, I broke another sandwich plate of his. I show it to you quickly. And so, like, the stuff that we complained about, he just made these beautiful things. I have to turn off that as well because it's just going to keep coming back on. But I like clays that... like I like stray dogs, you know, or mutt dogs. They got a lot going on for them. Tell me if you can't see what's going on. But you can kind of guess. So there's all sorts of crazy, nasty things on my table, it seems, even though I washed it this morning. You might have seen in a previous post that I actually, I have another favorite blog cooking blog called Lady and Pups. It's Mandy, what is her name? She's from Vancouver, but I think she lives in possibly Beijing, and she's got like the craziest ass approach to cooking, and sometimes she posts a recipe and I'm like, that's it, I gotta do it. And I broke my last really stupid cheap waffle maker making tater tots. I was pressed down on it too hard. So I went to the local Think Kitchen store in the mall, which is something that will kill me, and I picked that up. But I digress. So that's what I was doing this morning, and this is what I'm trying to attempt to do now. I like muddy clay, mutty, M-U-T-T-Y clay, because I think it embodies all the different components of what you need in life. You know, you need some grit, you need some plasticity, but I don't like, it's not that I don't like working with porcelain. I did a residency in Denmark once, and Sandra Trujillo, I miss you, and we worked with Limoges porcelain, and it was so freaking intimidating, and we worked in conjunction with Royal Copenhagen porcelain too. So freaking intimidating. It was very hard to actually kind of paint on the surfaces of these bisques and pre-glazed pieces, but somehow I did it and I made it through and lived to tell. Again, I'm just kind of working on the setup of things here, so hopefully you can see a little bit of what I'm doing. Coil building is deceivingly simple, but as you know, when you start throwing coils, which is really, coil building is really slow throwing, right? You get those wonky ovals, and you get the air bubble inside. It's just practice. I'll do another one. But and maybe I'll do it more consciously, because I'm thinking like you guys are all masters, and you're like, oh, I have to do the coil thing. I wedged up some of this clay a little bit there, but I tend to start off in the middle. Slow. I start in the middle and I work slowly out towards the edge, and then back to the middle and back out to the edge, and na-na-na-na-na, and na-na-na-na-na. And then I'm kind of ready to lay down some coil here. I know in my last video I said, I don't use buckets. Well, no, I didn't say that. I said, you don't need to see the buckets, but this is Bucky the bucket, just so you know it exists. It's living over here. You don't need to, you don't really need to concern yourself with him. But I will be dipping my serrated rib in here. And some people use slip. I don't use slip. I make my own slip as I go. So what I'm doing over here is I'm dipping my slip, my what do you call it? Rib, serrated rib, ribby the rib, ribbiter, in the water. And as I drag it around, I'm kicking up slip. I'm making slip all on my own. It's like making spit in your mouth, right? And so what I find, and again, anything I say in any of these videos is not the ceramic god truth, if there is a ceramic god at all. And so, but what I have found in my own experience is that if I have a little container of slip, is that it spooges out and it makes me fucking crazy. So I'm always playing catch up with that. I have some very nonsensical ideas in my mind about everything, of course, but when it comes to laying that first coil, I always tend to make it a little bit thicker than the rest of the coils. Usually it's actually even a little bit thicker than that. The reason is that I form it a little bit once it's attached, and then I end up carving into the bottom of the piece. So I like to give myself a little bit of extra cushion for the pushing, if you know what I mean. I learned that from Kabir as well. So I'm making contact, right, with my serrated areas, and you all know that. It's just like fingers sticking together when it's gooey and good like that. And actually, I can sit down now, I'm so tired. And what you might have saw, you know what, I'm going to do that with the second ring. So what I actually do is, hopefully you can see this, I'm left-handed and right-handed for some things, ambidextrous. So with my right hand, again, this is good because I'm test driving here. With my right hand, or your left hand, I tend to pull up in one direction, and I still have that spoogey slip stuff going on there, but I just don't find it as crazy making as, you know, when you brush it on. So I go around, and I'm working a little bit faster because I'm nervous. You're making me nervous, but I tend to on the outside go up with my strokes, and then on the inside I'm using my finger, and you can use your thumb if you want, but I tend to go down, 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 down with my other stroke. The reason being, and the subsequent layers will follow the same process or procedure, is that I find for me that if I go up, 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 up with like each stroke, like up on the outside and then up on the inside, everything gets really skinny and scrawny. And nobody likes skinny and scrawny. One of the things that I love about coil building, especially emulating or recreating really fine pottery, is that it's off. I like, you know, people romanticize about like the mark of the maker and the fingerprints, and I'm not so romantical about all that shit, but I do like the fingerprints and this and that. I also really consider the inside of the piece, so I like things to be compressed and I like things to be solid. I'm not really a tool person. When I coil build, it's really just like the fettling knife to cut the na-na-na, and then the serrated da-da-da-da-da, and then my hands to do the da-da-da, and then, you know, reapply lipstick every once in a while. But that's kind of about it. So, I mean, you could watch me do, you know, make the whole pot all day. And what I might do tomorrow is show you what I do at the end of things, because obviously you can't sit here for like 4 hours. That would kill you. But come to me, second coil. Come to me, second coil, and show me what you want to tell me. So usually I create, it's almost like this first coil here it's on there, and I make it a little bit like triangular in feeling, so it's not just like one roll that goes the whole way around. It's got a little bit of a bevel to it, and I always angle things in a little bit, because if you're a beginner ceramic student like me, you find that if you coil build really fast, because we want to do everything so fast in this freaking world, you find that your pot goes whoa, 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 right, and starts to splay out. So am I a control freak? You'll have to ask every one of my ex-boyfriends, and they will say yes. When it comes to ceramics, yes. When it comes to boyfriends, no. Do I have a boyfriend? No. You can also mark that in your calendars, that Valentine's Day is only a year away again. When you roll a coil, and this is a really big, this is a good one. This is a 5-star coil. You'll see on the edges, on the ends, happy face, is that they're a little bit lumpy and bumpy. I take that off. I'll roll it up and use it later. And I lay that coil and I feed it around here, and I'm working it on the inside of that edge. If you put it on the outside of the edge, this is like my mental gymnastics here, is that in my mind I'm like, it starts to do this. So if I try to keep things going up this way, if you're thinking about throwing it, like you can throw straight up. Even when I throw, I tend to throw a little bit in, so it goes and then I pull it up straight, if that's the shape, like the one of two shapes that I can throw. I'm just kidding. I can throw like 4 shapes, and that's just fine. When I get around to this edge, I don't snap it off immediately. Well, I do. You know what? You can, but I don't force this whole coil. Like, you'll see. I'm going to work around here, and again, because hopefully you can see in the camera lens, I'm going to start on one edge, and even though I did serrate it. So even though it's just kind of laying there loosey-goosey, I'm going to work around, and as you work around, you're going to notice that your coil stretches. And so the reason for not tamping everything down is because when you get to the when you get to the end, you might actually discover that you have leftovers, which you can use for your next coil meal. And you just put that over there with Mr. Secondary Coil. And then I take care of business by doing that. So this is where I freak out in workshops because it's like watching paint dry. It's so slow, it's so slow, it's so slow, it's so slow. So I like to break the coil building process down, or the, like Julia Child, right? So I like to show the beginning of something, but then I usually like to pull out of the oven a couple of other pieces that are midstream. So you can see what I do kind of in the middle. There's not that much that goes on in the middle, because sometimes if I have a piece that goes really in, like, you know, shape that's going to go like whoop, and then it's going to belly out, I actually just leave that. Like I build to the narrowest part, and then when it's going to, I have to burp, sorry, because of old. When it goes in, I really let that set up. I serrate the edge, and I do the slip thing, and I actually take a strip of, maybe I'll do that in this demo. I gotta burp again. I take a strip of plastic, dry cleaning plastic, or garbage bag, clear garbage bag plastic, and then I lay that over the edge and then cover it up and let it stiffen. It's a lot of babysitting, right? Who out there is a coil builder and loves it? Who out there is a closet coil builder and loves it? And want to tell your thrower friends, right, that you actually like working this slow. But you can imagine that, you know, you just do this over and over and over again. Mr. Coily and his friend's butt. Hi, butt. I'm gonna give it a little roll again. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna smooth everything out. But I just want to get this to a point where I show you what happens when I start to alter the shape. And this seems like glacial movements. And they are glacial movements. So I apologize for that, but hopefully I am yammering enough that you actually are slightly amused. And I'm just pretending that I have a conversation with, I'm having a conversation with Kabir or somebody else in the back of my head, and things are just kind of moving along there. So, oh, look, there's a decal stuck in there. Must have been kicking around on the clippings, just stuck on the table there. So you can see what I did was I attached the coil again to the inner sides of things, and then I went up on the outside, and I'm going to go down on the outside like this. I'm going to add one more coil to torture you, but then I can talk about one more thing, or maybe two more things, maybe three more things before I just bust it out after this. I'm going to kick up the Chang podcast, and then fast forward and catch up with you tomorrow, if that's okay, because tomorrow's hump day, and besides taking out the garbage and the compost, I got nothing better to do than hang out with you. Mwah. So anyways, I've got that, and I was like, shit, I let this clay, I mean, I work so slow, I don't actually order that much clay, and now I gotta go to some depot across the water, and I have to back into a loading bay dock up a ramp, and I'm an okay driver. I'm not a fantastic driver, but he laughed at me. He was like, and he came out with the clay order. I was like, how did you know I was ordering clay? And he goes, I know, you guys. Because everybody else is picking up industrial shit, and you guys come with your little Subarus and your shitty Pontiac vibes, and you don't know how to back in. That's kind of me. So I'm going to add this one more coil. Again, straight, right? And as you can see, I'm not really worried about the shape or anything like that right now. I'm just worried about getting a few coils on at a time. And that will become really obvious, not in a moment. Pinch that butt coils for the next one. And here we go again. So sometimes I don't even lay it on like all the way around. I just start going up on one side, and it's really hard. My friend Kasha, who is not a ceramic artist, she has a wonderful hair salon in the West Village in New York called Swank. If you ever need a haircut, there's 4 amazing gals there. But we used to work with this gal, Vicky Vicqua, and she was this amazing person. But this reminds me of a completely dirty story, and I can't tell it here, about going up and down on things. Next, that's a different podcast. So I reached the end here, and I'm gonna go up, whoop, 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 and then I'm gonna go down, 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 down. Actually, maybe I'll stick on one more coil if you'll bear with me. So I'm gonna go down, and I'm using my thumb, and the motion with my thumb is almost like like down and spread, and like down, like a J stroke, like if you're canoeing, if you're one of those outdoor people. It's not in my online dating profile that I'm so much of an online, like outdoor person, but I know how to J stroke. Is that what it's called? J stroking? So I've got that on there. And in my little brain, my want is to like compress things. So I've got this kind of lumpy base, and I think I'll go, you know, I'm just kind of getting back in practice for the show stuff too. So I'm going to build not a generic vase per se, but I just have something that I know I want to go in a little bit, and then I want to go not really belly out, but just like a slight belly out. Again, because if I do a really steep angle, I literally can put on a couple coils an hour, if that. And I know some of you use like blow torches and stuff to do that, but I burnt myself on the oven last night, so I have to be careful because I don't have all those skills. A quick story about the insides. I was once, and I wrote about this in a post. I'm going to take my thumb. That's my other favorite tool, is just my fingernails. And I'm sorry for your esthetician friends out there who are completely horrified. My thumb, any kind of finger. And so what I do is I actually use my thumb, and I create a line in the bottom. So I don't think I can show this to you like right in there because I don't have one of those overhead setups yet, but maybe that's next Christmas or something like that for me. I got some hair in there too, but I'll show you the effect. And really, I'm gonna go on. Sometimes I use my thumb, sometimes I go back over with my finger. I don't care. I don't need it to be right. What I want is a line in there that defines a beginning or an end, depending on how you read the pot. And I'll talk about that tomorrow, about like how I like to read pots up and down. But I go in there with my finger, and can you see? Can you see that line? It's just in there. So my thought is ceramics last a long time. And if you make a good piece and it's worth something and it's dug up out of the earth 5 million years from now, because we know the earth is actually going to last that long, I want somebody to find this broken pot and be like, this is a really great pot. Somebody made this pot with a lot of care. And so that's why I bother to do that on the inside. Ain't nobody gonna see it really. And I was teaching, I went to the Alberta College of Art. I'm just gonna call it that. I'm gonna call it ANU or whatever, the Alberta Art something. But when I was teaching there, should I name? I'm gonna name one name. I had the delightful Aura May in my class, and she kicked ass. And it was that era where I think you could post grades like based on, you could jumble them or shuffle them, but they would be on a sheet on the wall. I mean, you can't get away with that now. But this kid, who I won't name, was in the class, but some of you probably know him. And he was very handsome, and he saw on the sheet that Aura got, no, I don't even know if I posted grades. I think it was a critique or something. They had to build 6, 8 coil pots or something like that. Anyway, he built these coil pots that were, you know, I don't think he went into ceramics. But on the inside, everything was loosey-goosey. Nothing was attended to. So when I peered in the pot, I said to him, I said, hey, man, because I can't name his name. And I would never call anybody man, but it was like, hey, dude, what kind of underwear are you wearing today? And he was like, what? And he said, boxers. And I said, do they have a pattern on them? And he's like, yeah, they do. And he goes, well, what does that have to do with this coil building critique? And I said, well, I'm just pointing out that you bothered to wake up and choose the underwear that you could potentially be hit in a bus by today. And so when they crack you open, they're going to find something nice. And he laughed, and I said, and the same thing here. Even though you can't see the inside of the pot, why not take a few extra minutes and just smooth the coils out and make sure that thing's going to stick together and survive the apocalypse, so that when the cockroach people survive us, they're going to have some nice pots to use. But I guess I should say he was a very, very competitive student, and he wanted to know what his grade was going to be immediately. And I said, and I can say, I'm just going to say it because Aura she was an A student all around, and she's still an A person all around. And I said, do you think your work is as good as Aura's? And he said, no. And I said, she's going to get an A. What do you think you should get? And we laughed. And I would never do that. I promise you I would never do that today. But I've also given up on ever teaching again, so due to other reasons. But that's why you take the time to do what you do on the inside of your pot. I am sorry that I'm adding one extra coil here. And again, I'm going to leave that little bit off the edge. And I'm going to quickly go around here and go do my ups and then do my downs and then do my all-arounds. And I just want to show you what I'm thinking about. As you can see, I don't fuss with the layers that much while I'm doing about a set of 4 or 5 coils at a time. Again, it's different if the piece is really going to belly out. I slow things down quite a bit and can kind of tend to things. But the logic in my little tiny head is that if you muck about with like one coil joint to the next coil, and you're going to undo it. Like if you do coil 1 and coil 2 and then you make a perfect burp, then you have to add coil 3, and then you just fucked around and you just undid everything with coil 1 and coil 2. So I like to get to coil 4, coil 5 before I go, oh, let's take some time, and you know, I won't belabor you like what I actually do, but I don't really use that much ribs because again, the mystical mark of the maker, I do like a little bit of thumb action. I do like a little bit of fingerprint action, or you know, hand job action to be evident there. So, but what I do is I actually kind of take a little bit of a time to determine like that angle that I want, and I do take a little bit of a time to figure out the inside and sort of shore that up and make it look pretty in case it gets hit by a bus today. I want it to have nice coil building underwear, right? Right. So then what I'm left with is this. So now what I'm going to do for the rest of the day is probably go up. It's very hard to see like what's going on per se. This looks very lumpy and bumpy. Looks very first year, freshman year. That's okay. You just wait. Tomorrow we're going to be, what is it, freshman? Sophomore? Tomorrow we're going to be a sophomore. Yeah, we're going to join the teams. Oh boy, I have another story from another friend. Teaching experience. But, so what I want to do is I want to get it to a point where I can now flare out a little bit, but just a little bit. Just super subtle. So what I'm going to do is go up, up, and just the slightest bit out, so that the inside angle is just just a tiny bit out. You know, you just want to kind of angle it towards whatever. Again, if you're going to put on another set of coils, I try not to go too fast. I'll put on 3 and then I'll futz with the form a little bit and then I'll go back in and let things shore up. The other thing I do with, you know, when students are like, I gotta make 6 vacuum coil pots, I can't do that, that'll take forever. But the thing is if you work on 6 coil pots, like Lucille Ball style, like on the conveyor belt, you get as much work done because things are setting up, right? So you work on the base, you work on the base, you work on the base. I wouldn't do 6 myself, but I could do like 2 or 3 for sure. And I toggle, especially if it's a pair, of course, and you want them to look similar. But if you're working on 3 at a time, then you are you're still being just as productive, because sometimes you have these angles that things need time to set up with anyways. So oftentimes I do that. Sometimes I start a bigger piece and I'll start 2 smaller pieces at the same time. You'll also notice that I don't really use any water, because water makes things slimy. I love ceramics. There's certain textures that make me crazy. Sometimes slimy water is one. Sometimes if my fingernails are dry with clay on it and I pick up paper towel, it fucking freaks me out. It happened right before the video and I was like, I gotta go wash my hands. It's horrible. But so what I will do at this point is a couple things. I don't know. Oh, serrated ribby over here. So what I will do at this point, say I needed to go out and go to the post office, which I normally do around this time, is that I want things to sort of set up. So what I'll do is I'll just give a serrated rib slip treatment to the top of it. No water, no paper towel, no extraordinary measures. I take garbage. I have a lot of like that plastic drop cloth, the thin stuff. But it's easy enough to just buy the clear plastic garbage bags, and I layer the whole thing on there. One other thing that I will talk about, because that was a lot of just coil building, is you'll see how the edge is just like sort of dumpy, like you're just wearing shitty New Balance sneakers and you're like, where are my Adidas sneakers? And so you want to turn your shitty whatever, and I'm just kidding. There's nothing. I think I have New Balance sneakers. But one thing I learned from Kirk Mangus is even if you got the heaviest pot in the world, give it a little bit of lift. It's like wearing not high heels, kitten heels. You just want to give it that little, right? So what he taught me was to take my fettling knife, and I'm so hoping that you can see this, is that I take it and I hold it at just a little bit of an angle, and I might have to hold this there. Hopefully you can see it. I go around here, and what I do is at a slightly angled edge, I go around, and when I magically pull that little trimming away, I get, and normally I would probably let this sit up a little bit more, but what I get is it casts the tiniest bit of a shadow. Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? Now think of it like on your favorite mug. Oh, look, I can use Hanun's mug there. See, it's got a little bit of and it gives it a little bit of gravity-defying push-up bra action, right? So, it's probably, again, I like using clay that's a little bit stiff. I can work a little bit faster, but I don't like baby poo clay. I don't like it too fresh. So what I'll probably do is clean that up either later or tomorrow. But I do like that little pick-me-up before you go feeling at the end of things. This concludes the beginning of coil building session 1. I clocked in at 39 minutes. Learned a little bit about me. Maybe I'll let you in a little bit more. Right? I got some things to cook this afternoon. I haven't figured out how to video that, but this is kind of my learning curve, and it's been kind of fun. So I hope you join me again. And again, if you feel like following me, feel like stalking me, I'm at Forest Studios. If you feel, don't stalk me. Don't stalk me. But I'd love to see you there. And if you have friends that I'm friends with, most likely I'll be friends with you on Facebook. And that's where I pour my entire fucking heart out about everything. You only get to see part of it on Instagram. So tomorrow we'll finish this pot maybe, talk about depression. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. And I hope you have, if it's Tuesday and you're having tacos, happy Taco Tuesday. If you're having 2 of something, have 1 for me. And I hope you have a magical day in the universe that is pandemic. Okay, bye all.